All right, let's jump right in. If you think you know how power works in the Middle East, well, think again. Because right now, a massive shift is redrawing the entire map, and honestly, it's happening at a speed that's catching almost everyone off guard.
So here's the bottom line. Ever since late 2024, that old balance of power we've talked about for years, it's been completely shattered. What we're seeing is this huge comeback of Sunni influence, and it's coming directly at the expense of Iran and its allies. And you've got to understand, this isn't just happening by chance. No, this is a calculated strategic move.
And the speed of this whole thing, it's just stunning. I mean, think about it. Late 2024, boom, Assad's regime in Syria, a crucial partner for Iran, just collapses. By December, the Sunni group HTS is in control of Damascus. Then, you look over at 2025, and suddenly, internal Sunni factions in Yemen are patching things up to focus on the real enemy. And at the same time, Iraqi elections show this huge swing in who's showing up to vote. It is literally a domino effect playing out right before our eyes.
So you have to ask, right? What's behind all this? Well, what we're really seeing here is the rise of a brand new power bloc. And that is a US-backed Sunni axis that's, well, it's tilting the entire region on its head.
Okay, so what is this Sunni axis we're talking about? Put simply, it's a coalition of Sunni-majority countries. You've got Saudi Arabia really stepping up to lead, and they're bringing in other heavy hitters like Turkey. Their goals couldn't be clearer. First, box in Iran's influence, and second, and this is just as big, counter Iran's major international backers, Russia and China.
All right, so we get who's in the club and what they're after. But how are they actually pulling this off? What's the strategy? Let's get into the playbook.
It really boils down to a three-step game plan. Step 1, unite the team. That means getting former rivals, think Qatar and Turkey, to finally play on the same side, with Saudi Arabia calling the shots. Step 2, go on the offensive. Systematically weaken Iran's allies all across the region. And step 3, think bigger. Use that united front to push back against Russia and China. See, it starts regional, but it has huge global implications.
Okay, so that's the strategy on paper. But is it actually working? Let's look at the proof on the ground. And for that, we turn to our two big case studies, Syria and Yemen.
I mean, look at the transformation in Syria. It's the perfect example. Before all this, you had Assad's Alawite regime, which is closely related to Shia Islam, and they were tight with Iran and Russia. Now, fast forward, and it's a centralized Sunni state led by HTS, and it's lining up with Saudi Arabia and Turkey. That's not just a small change. That's like flipping a major piece on the chessboard completely over.
And the really critical part is how this all went down. This quote, it tells you everything you need to know about the new logic at play. Washington, it says, did not intervene to save the SDF. The SDF, America's Kurdish partners for years. What this means is that the US made a choice. A stable, Sunni-aligned Syria was more important than loyalty to old allies. It's pragmatic for sure, but wow, it's also pretty ruthless.
And this isn't a one-off. We saw a very similar dynamic play out down in Yemen. There was this internal fight brewing among the Sunni factions, a fight that was threatening the main goal of taking on the Iran-backed Houthis. So what happened? Saudi Arabia, with a quiet nod from the US, stepped in and basically forced its own allies to get back in line. It just goes to show the #1 priority is a united front against Iran. Period.
So, okay, Iran's allies are on the back foot in Syria. They're being contained in Yemen. So where does the spotlight turn next? Yep, the big question on everyone's mind is Iraq. Is it the next domino in the line?
And this isn't just a sideshow. This is the central question driving strategy in the region right now. You have to remember, with its other allies reeling, Iraq is really Iran's last major foothold in the Arab world. So you can bet it's become target #1 for this new Sunni axis.
And, you know, Iraq is looking pretty vulnerable right now, for a few key reasons. First, it's the only major Arab capital still under Shia control. Second, you've got Iraqi Sunni leaders openly asking for US support. Then, you've got the fact that Iran's proxy militias have taken a real beating from recent airstrikes. And maybe most importantly, there's a ton of public anger. And not just from Sunnis, but from Shia Iraqis too, who are just fed up with corruption and Iran's constant interference. The whole situation is just ripe for a big change.
So, if a change is coming, what does it look like? Well, there are basically two ways this could go down. Two paths to a Sunni comeback in Baghdad. You've got the path of ballots, through elections and politics, and then you have the much more dangerous path, the path of bullets. A coup, an uprising, you name it.
First, let's talk about the ballots option. This chart showing the 2025 election turnout really tells the story. See that? Shia voter turnout was kind of low. But look at the Sunni turnout. It shot way up. That kind of political energy, that re-engagement, could be enough to completely shift the balance of power in parliament. It opens the door for a totally new, Sunni-led government to form. But then, there's the bullet scenario. And the spark for that could easily come from next door in Syria. Imagine this. In all the chaos after Assad's fall, thousands of ISIS detainees escaped from prisons. They fled across the border into Iraq, creating a massive security crisis. That's the kind of chaos that hardline Sunni groups could jump on. They could step in, say, we're the only ones who can bring back order, and try to take power by force.
All right, let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture, because this isn't just about Iraq or Syria or Yemen. What we're talking about here is a new order in the Middle East, and the ripple effects, they're going to be huge for the entire region and, frankly, for the whole world.
And for some groups, the stakes couldn't be higher. I'm talking existential. Just look at the Kurds in Iraq. They have fought for decades to build their autonomy. But a powerful new Sunni government in Baghdad, especially when backed by Turkey, well, that could be seen as a direct threat to their existence. The dangers are incredibly real. We're talking about Baghdad trying to re-centralize all power, take back the oil fields, grab disputed cities like Kirkuk, and maybe even dismantle the Peshmerga, their military force. From their perspective, they're terrified they're about to be sacrificed in this giant geopolitical chess game.
So when you look at the global stage, this new setup is, without a doubt, a strategic win for the United States. Its position is much stronger thanks to this Sunni axis. At the same time, it's a bit of a reality check for China, who's been shown it can't just step in and replace the US as the region's security guard. And Russia? Its influence took a nosedive when it couldn't save its ally Assad. So yeah, a shift in the Middle East has massive consequences for the great power competition.
So, at the end of the day, here's where we are. We have this new, powerful Sunni axis, with Washington's backing, that promises to bring some kind of order to a very chaotic part of the world. It's a clear, coherent strategy to push back against Iran. But, let's be honest, it's an order that's being built on raw power, on constantly shifting alliances, and on some really tough, even ruthless decisions. And that leaves us with one final and I think crucial question. This new axis promises order, but at what cost?